Alright, let's try this again now that my audio is working. There's 49 documents filed yesterday and today. Uh, Exhibit 1 is the lawsuit brought forth by Avery against Manitowoc, Vogel, and Zurich. Exhibit 2 is the deposition of Andrew Colborn, which took first on January 21st and 22nd of 2022. Exhibit 3 is the circuit court filing, State of Wisconsin versus Stephen Avery, decision ordered wrongful conviction evidence. This is old news, so I'm just going to skip over it. Alright, email sent by Griesbach to Ronald Goldfarb. I debated this for a week with the wife and children, and in my own mind I'm convinced that he's guilty. I said the same in the interview I sent you, but I'm nowhere near as certain that the cops did not plant evidence to bolster their case. But also the alternate suspect issued to Avery's defense team is shaking down as we speak. So I'm assuming these emails are the reason why Michael Griesbach decided to leave the case, and Colborn also signed off on it, because he's in here in these emails stating that he still thinks the cops planted evidence to help their case, to get their man, the key. This is Griesbach to another Goldfarb. No, same guys he wanted to, but we was prevented from pinning it on trial. It's a hogwash. Same with the Siegfried, who was looking more like the Vic of his whacked out wife trying to set him up, that murderer. So he believes that Siegfried, if all you guys don't know who that is, that's the German guy. He's claiming that his wife was just trying to set him up for the Hallbach murder. And he's also referencing that Colborn and Link are kind of shady. Now, these are all news articles that were also talked about making a murderer. So why does Andrew Colborn choose just to sue Netflix? Author, award-winning training thriller, blah, 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 blah. Exhibit 6, email from Andrew Colborn. I read your email with interest. Okay, sir, thank you so much for your prompt replies. Like you, I refuse to watch it in a small act of defiance. Cancel Netflix. I can try and get that info from others who have suffered through it. I can tell you specifically. So basically, this is bolstering that Andrew Colborn was using other people's opinions to form his own. I read your email with interest. I've studiously avoided watching the shows. I do not know if you have a claim for defamation, but before I can comment, I would like to be very helpful if you could detail not just what you claim as false, but the episodes that contain the false statements. I can watch them directly rather than sitting through 10 hours of blind TV watching. What is happening to you and your family is just terrible. I will certainly give you some free time to determine if you may have the basis for a claim. Dear sir, I was referred to your firm by attorney Mark T. Begnez, who stated you have defended police officers before in defamation case or suit. Perhaps the Badger Guns case in 2005 was involved in the second Stephen Avery investigation, which culminated in Stephen Avery being found guilty of first-degree intentional homicide and was sentenced to life imprisonment. During the trial, Mr. Avery was very well represented by Attorney Dean Strang from Madison, Wisconsin, and Attorney Jerome Buting from Brookfield, Wisconsin. In short, the defense was that another now retired police officer planted the evidence that led to Mr. Avery's conviction. Avery was found guilty by the jury, and his appeals have been exhausted. No evidence was ever planted, and the defense issues were soundly defeated by the prosecution team of Milwaukee County ADA, Norm Gahn, DOJ State Attorney Tom Fallon, and the County DA, Ken Kratz. Fast forward to 2015, and now Netflix releases a documentary made by two producers who worked with the Avery defense team, and again, I'm being accused of committing felonies in order to put Stephen Avery in prison. Attorney Strang and Beauty continue to support these lies and exacerbate the situation by continuing to state that there was a conspiracy on part of the law enforcement and the judicial system to conflict Avery. Since the release of this documentary, my agency in a whole has been under suspicion, and I personally am receiving threats, including death threats, on a daily basis. My family, including my children, have been threatened in packages that exploding glitter shows have been mailed to my residence. As you can see below, I am a detective lieutenant still employed at the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Office. I am concerned that my newfound popularity will begin to affect the prosecution of cases I have before the court and might ultimately destroy my career as a character assassination continues. I am greatly concerned for the safety of my family, as my wife is blind and my children do not live at home, so it's difficult for me to protect them. I have served my country proudly my entire life, enlisted in the U.S. Air Force in 1976, served until 1988. I was hired as a law enforcement officer in 1992 and had honorably served the agency for 24 years. I never committed any type of wrongdoing in an investigation by military, by yada yada yada. Exhibit 7 from Brenda Schuler to John Farrak. Your recent article on Link Colborn honored for work on the Avery case. Dear Mr. Farrak, I'm writing regarding the above referenced article that you wrote and attached to a document I'd like you to review. I'm hoping that you will share the information because too many people are only taking the word of the defense side. Keep in mind that Stephen Avery had his day in court and was found guilty. All the issues of police corruption, evidence planting, improper searches, hiding evidence, we all know that's a fucking fact. All the issue, you got the Veely CD, you got all the Manitowoc audio, and who knows what else they got in that safe. But each evidence has been brought forth to the appellate court. There is nothing new in the making of murder other than an incredible slant and selectively edited read splicing the actual testimony dates apart in one version based on defense view. It's obvious that you have done minimal research about the MAM and it is extremely disappointing to me. But unfortunately, you are with the majority of viewers that take this documentary, I use them term loosely, that choose to believe that Stephen Avery is some type of folk hero. He's being portrayed as the new face of injustice, and I'm embarrassed for humanity as how easily people have discounted the type of persons and criminal history that Avery has, but are so quick to judge and threaten law enforcement that were involved regardless of the county they reside in. The rank of... I can't even read this shit. It's just a hogwash. In an effort to stand behind my strong opinion and bias towards MAM in her article only portrays the defense side, I'm offering up a chance for you to show your credibility in reporting my rebuttal. I'm hopeful you will do that, and if you don't, and you certainly be noticeable that you have no interest in reporting the story fairly to both sides. I attached a document pointing out 5 things from your article. Thank you for your time. Too bad they didn't attach that document. Andrew Colborn to Patrick Dunphy. Dear Sir, I see Attorney Strang will be giving a presentation on the Avery case on 1/27/16 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's sold out, or would try to obtain a record of the event for you. I'm guessing my name will be bantered about it quite a bit, especially claims against me that all evidence gathered in the crime scene was planted, including the victim's bones were located in a fire pit next to Avery's residence where he burned her body after dismembering her, and Avery's home was located in the key in the victim's vehicle, which had Avery's DNA on it. The story is planted the key. I was being accused of breaking into our own courthouse and stealing a vial of blood that was used in it. You wouldn't have to break in, bro. You got the fucking keys. And there's only a fucking push button number code to get into the evidence room. Come on now. I came in possession of the sweat on the hood release of the victim's vehicle. The claim then goes on that after planting the victim's vehicle and a body at Avery's residence, law enforcement then entered Avery's residence, took a rifle from above his bed, later proven to be a murder weapon, went outside and fired the rifle into the floor of the garage, and then replaced the rifle over Avery's bed. If you are to disbelieve, I assure that... When did they claim that happened? Do you guys recall them saying that they took the goddamn rifle off his bed and went outside into the garage and then shot it? I assure you in all court records for this case, none of this is true. Avery kidnapped the poor girl, assaulted her, and then killed her, dismembered her on this day. Just last week, Strang was on WTMJ radio saying that these things was just mentioned. Trial was over 10 years ago. How much longer can the defense attorneys continue to crusade against the agency and me personally? I picked out some of the emails I have received as a direct result of Netflix rubbish. I will forward them to you. Also, I have record to disc voice messages that I receive daily. I wonder if they got those, because he's... You're not very smart, Andrew Colborn. You're not very smart at all. I read your emails with interest and studiously avoid watching the show, blah, 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 blah. Dear Sarah, refer to you as firm, blah, 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 blah. We already read that. Exhibit 9. Videotape deposition. Okay, this is a deposition of Laura Riccardi. Sorry, I just spoke over you. I apologize. But this isn't the whole thing, obviously, because it goes from page 1 to page 47. And they did ask for things to be redacted. I just spoke over you. I apologize. We included that in the series because how could we cover the Hallbach trial without including the defense theory of framing? I mean, they were explicit about the theory and necessarily included it, but by including it, we didn't adopt it. We were not trying to communicate anything to the public about that. We were merely showing what we documented. So there was no point on a view that Stephen Avery was innocent. Objection. Witness, no. Mr. Burnett, there was no point of view for the documentary makers endorsed that Stephen Avery had been framed by law enforcement. No. As I said, we didn't take a position on those things. Did you portray the prosecution and the defense neutrally? Best evidence rule. Witness is not here to expert what that. You can answer if you... I believe we took the same approach. It was an universal approach to the storytelling at every stage, from inviting people to participate in documentary to the way things were covered. My question was, did you portray the prosecution and defense neutrally? I don't know what that means. Neutrally. Just give me a moment to prose. Same objections as to your previous question. Mr. Burnett, you don't know what it means to be neutral? I was trying to define for you what our approach was. Right. It was the same approach. It was a democratic and a universal approach. So yes, we approached them in the same way. We covered them in the same way. You picked neither side. We did not take sides. Okay. Did you include? Strike that. Do you understand the meaning of the word protagonist? Yes, I do. Could you define what it is for us? Sure. Would you like me to define it within the context of the series, or would you like me to? Well, get to that. If you could just define the word generally. I would say a main character of a principal subject. And you familiar with the word antagonist? Yeah, I am. What does that word mean? A person of a thing that stands in opposition to a protagonist. The protagonist, strike that. Did Making a Murder have a protagonist? Yes. Who was protagonist? Stephen Avery. Did the Making a Murder have objection? Compound fact. Would you share cuts with Netflix and they would provide feedback notes? And the feedback notes would generally contain a range of things, but I was there. I think questions and comments, general feedback about the cuts. Did Netflix make suggestions and recommendations on how to improve documentary in those notes? Objection. They made suggestions. Did you take them seriously? We took them suggestions. We took them as suggestions. Do you ever state that you felt Netflix suggestions and recommendations were externally helpful? I'm sorry, would you repeat that? Sure. Did you ever state that you collaboratively, myself and I have talked about, I believe in the life, I've talked about it having been in collaboration. So you thought it was collaborative work? You would agree that you worked closely with the folks at Netflix to produce Making a Murderer? Objection, vague. I don't know what Lisa Nishimura means by closely. Work together, perhaps. Communicating openly and frequently. Would that describe how the Netflix work together? I don't know if I would say frequently. I mean, I know if I think about the workflow, we know we were working in separate locations. I think we were, mainly communicating on phone calls. There was a occasionally meeting. But, for the most part, Maura and I were interested in, being able to do creative work, and then times we were required to share it with Netflix. And that would, lead to notes and conversations, and we'd go back. We could work creatively. And it was sort of, right. So that was two. See, it's just jumping around from 178 to 208. So we only got a small snippet. Exhibit 10. I'm assuming these are the clips that were played for Andrew Colborn during his deposition. But this has obviously all been fucking redacted, so. Thank you so much for email and interest. You're hoping to bring Lion Prod Post Super. You have raised all the budget to complete the film. Project February, March next year. Guessing timing me. Nothing of importance, I believe. Released in 8-part Netflix world premiere exclusive. 90% shot. Rough cut to first three episodes. The project has been extremely independent. The series has been entirely produced, directed, and shot and edited by partner Laura Riccardi and myself. This right here just says that Netflix said no. Now they have support with Netflix. So, yeah, they've already said that. It's something that's not new news to me. It wasn't complete when they took it all the way to Netflix. They finished it after. Griesbach. My name is Lisa Califf, the law firm Donaldson Califf LLP. We are legal counsel for Synthesis Films. The producer of a documentary series about Stephen Avery entitled Making a Murder. I'm writing to you regarding your interview with Synthesis Films on January 23rd, 2010, which you gave the express understanding that you might be used in the series. Subject Synthesis described an interview. I understand that although you signed a shoot release agreement on January 23rd, 2010, the release, you are now requesting that interview, whether whole in part, not be used in the series. Yeah, that's the thing that some people don't know about this. They talked to all the law enforcement and everybody else involved in the prosecution, but they just didn't release the footage to be released and used. And Griesbach did sign it, and he tried to get him to stop. Based on your express consent to film in connection with the series, Synthesis has legal right to use the interview in the series. United States case law is quite clear on this point. In order to have a viable lack of consent or personal rights claim, you would have to show that there was some type of invasion of privacy or perhaps some type of fraud in indictment, meaning you were fraudulently induced to act in a particular way. You could also assert that false light of defamation, but only if you were in fact painted in an inaccurate or defamatory manner, which is not the case. As you have mentioned, you and Synthesis share a common goal of drawing public attention to the police prosecution of misconduct of the type exhibit local authorities in. Stephen Avery's wrongful conviction and rape for assault of Penny Bernstein. The sole portion of the interview is used in the series speak only to the wrongful conviction in the case of Penny Bernstein. Your opinions in the interview was accepted in the series were unrelated to the later points made in the series, which suggests that Stephen Avery may have been wrongfully convicted in the murder of Teresa Halbach. Moreover, Synthesis in no way relied upon your book, The Innocent Killer, A True Story of Wrongful Conviction, the astonishing aftermath in the production of the series. In sum, based on a signed release, your appearance in the interview, and the fact that Synthesis Justable reasonably relied on your actions when obtaining distribution for the series, Synthesis' legal right to use the interview in the series. I must note that the letter is not complete statement of my client's rights and reminds the respect of the matter, all of which are hereby expressly reserved. Please contact me directly if any questions, concerns. Look forward to hearing from you. Lisa Califf. Isla Griesbach, this is him signing. I acknowledge that I am participating in motion picture film. Yep. And he signed it and dated it. Exhibit 13. Andrew Colborn. April 26, 2022. Oh, this is the deposition of Adam Del Deo. It's not the whole thing because it goes from page 1 to 62. Something really terrific. I was really struck in the conversation in which I shared the focus on. They had in wanting to use Stephen Avery's case as a look in the criminal justice system itself. I was struck by the fact, which I communicated, I believe, in the meeting, that Stephen had spent 18 years in prison, that someone could state at trial that they were convinced that he had committed this horrendous act, this rape, and the criminal justice system got it wrong. Through the DNA testing, which for me at the time, a lot of this I'm learning about after seeing a lot of the questions after seeing the first 2 cuts. But I was really struck with the depth of knowledge and curiosity to kind of dig into the case and use the lens to look at the criminal justice system in America. So I expressed that to Lisa in time, and I was, again, very impressed. Laura and Maura, I learned that they had met at Columbia Film School. I was very impressed at how they were articulated, and they wanted to, in the open eyes, capture, accurate factual events, really follow the story from Stephen Avery's perspective, and also from the perspective of police officers involved in the case, Manitowoc, and let the subjects capture the objective way what was happening and able to put forth those issues in the criminal justice system, put those forward to a broader audience. So that was a recollection of the first meeting with them primarily. Now, we don't know what the question was, so that was the answer. After their meeting, at some point, you, in terms of acting in the role, were asked to do more respect or become more involved in the series. Is that correct? Yes. All right, I got a little bit more time. Let's see how much I can get to this. Yeah, I know. I'm getting over being sick. Yes, I was very intentional. I was initially asked to work Laura Mora and come up with budget that was fit with achieve the objective series, provided and support that they needed. We're already shooting. I already had a pretty strong team, but in the extent they would helpful in terms of any prepositions, helpful in terms of budgeting. It would be a general resource for them, and I'll work with them to get primarily, I think, budget in shape that they could have forward with the project. Were you asked to work with any others in front of me? But that's what generally. See, we're missing page 64. Yeah, so eventually we're going through some email messages and notes. We help professional reflections on that. I'm trying to hold you to estimate the point. We're trying to get a general sense. Where did you strike that? What was ultimately a Netflix creative team to make the murder project? At the outset, it was myself and Lisa would be creative team, and then eventually did it grow to include others at Netflix? Yes. And the other individual would be Ben Contour or Strike? Yes. And when there was anyone else that we consider part of the creative team involved? Majan Javadi, and what was her little at that time, and the title at the time was, her title was coordinator for content, and Miss Contier was the title at director of content. Was a co-director of content we both had the same title, so maybe you can clarify, is that what you meant by your question? Yes, we were both directors, yes, and we're more directors of content than you are in content department at the time. Yes, but did you all have the same function? Strike that. Did you all have the same job? Generally speaking, yes. We respect the Netflix creative team. We or anyone else who ultimately participated in the main focus of the work, other than Ben, Marjan, Lisa, and yourself. Not to my knowledge, did you each have different roles with respect to the work that you're doing to Making a Murderer? And then it goes from page 65 to 144. It would be important for Making a Murder viewers to understand the context of the search of the Avery property on November 8th, Mr. Colborn's involvement. I think the question assumes is what they need to know is find out what really happened on the 7th of November when they were all called to Cuss Road for absolutely nothing. Remember? Tree stump. But I find it odd that Colborn slipped up and said body. Ms. Walker, I think your question assumes that in our documentary, I think, well, and the witness feels like he can answer your question. I'm not instructing him not to answer it. The witness, yeah, I don't know what context, whether this was or wasn't used. I don't recall whether it is in, but I would making the determination, Laura and Maura were the filmmakers. They were looking at the footage, the trial footage, all the assets they had. They would be the ones to make the call as to what ends up in the documentary or not. For my role, creative team, we were giving notes and feedback based on cuts that were coming in. So the extent that exists that doesn't, I've never seen this, and again, I don't know if this is documentary or not, but I wouldn't be my role to suggest that something would be in the series from the trial. Alright, so it goes to one page 44. We got a continuation. Specifically, if there a cut comment on it, we would have feedback as to whether or not the creatively felt it was working, but to extent there's a specific passage from the trial would make that determination. Ms. Barker, did you, with respect to Making a Murder, broadcast your involvement? What materials did you review? What source materials did you review during the production of the Making a Murder? We looked at the cuts and they came in. Did you ever have occasion to review any depositions that were given to the opponents of the Avery civil trial? No. Okay. Do you know whether Benjamin Contour was reviewed any of those? I don't know. Directing your attention to page 48 of the 56 in the same document. I'm directing your attention to the fourth line from the bottom. There's also, I'll read to you again, the copy of the trans. Okay. From the Avery criminal trial, with omitted testimony highlighted in Representative Mr. Colborn's pleading in the case. The question is, with respect to Mr. Kratz's question, have you ever planted any evidence against Mr. Avery? If the plaintiff, assuming that the plaintiff, Mr. Colborn's response, that's ridiculous. No, I have not. Would you have agreed that this different response of what is indicated at the end of that page, which states, I have to say that this is the first time integrity has ever been questioned, and no, I have not? Object to the form of the question. The transcript speaks for itself. The witness, I don't know. I'm just reading this from the first time. I haven't seen this before. To the best of my knowledge, it takes determination or whether or not the 10-hour series, whether a line here or there should be in the series or not. No way to making that determination. Again, Lauren Moore, we trusted them. They were steering us. We were looking at the cuts and they were coming. So on and on. All right, now it goes from 46 to 61. Are you able to say, based on your experience of document filming with the purpose for the taking the footage of the subject and replacing it with the footage in trial context, there is no rule? Objection to the extent of you're asking something what we just saw and the mistakes and mischaracterizations of the evidence. If you're asking him hypothetical, the witness can answer. Yeah, I can answer that based on looking at the raw footage and then secondary clip. Just know context around it. Just know Laura and Moria were trusted them to edit and show and create the show that was the best, so I'm not in a position to comment and make a snap judgment here today as to whether or not the piece of footage, that raw footage, would be swapped out other and used within the context of the series. I don't have enough knowledge to go or off what to make the determination. And you're given a strike that, so it goes from page 61 now to page 173. County law enforcement officers plant evidence to frame Stephen Avery for murder. Ms. Walker, same objections, but you can answer. The witness, no. Does Making a Murder series express opinion in Manitowoc County law enforcement officers plant the evidence to Stephen Avery for murder? Ms. Walker, objection. The documentary speaks itself. The witness opinion and responding is interrupted to said it is irrelevant. All right. It's almost done. Alright, does Making a Murder series express opinion in Manitowoc County law enforcement officers plant the evidence to frame Stephen Avery for murder? Objection. The documentary speaks for itself. The witness opinion and residential viewers interpreted the said is irrelevant. Question. Does Making a Murder assert that Andrew Colborn planted evidence to frame Stephen Avery for murder? Express the opinion that Andrew Colborn planted evidence to frame Stephen Avery for murder. I'll make the same objection. The documentary speaks for itself. That testimony it would express is not relevant. Does Making a Murder assert that Andrew Colborn participated in a conspiracy to frame Stephen Avery? Documentary speaks for itself. Does Making a Murder express opinion? Documentary speaks for itself. Documentary speaks for itself. Express an opinion that Andrew Colborn participated in a conspiracy to frame Stephen Avery. I think we've asked that one, but it will raise an objection. Same documentary speaks for itself. I think you asked the question. I think I answered it differently. I phrased it differently, actually, so I asked you if you're participating in what others expressed an opinion. Same objection, yeah, I asked you one more time just so I answer that. Yes, madam, court reporter, could you read back the question? Does Making a Murder? And then it's done. So, Exhibit 14, email, Making a Murder Creative, Netflix Creative, Making a Murder Notes, Making a Murder as of components to the epic series of potential enrage. Engage global viewers and potentially affect public opinion over the two live cases from day one. We've been captivated, unbelievable stories, and an incredible level of research, access, and information you've successfully missed in the years. Currently, public appetite to crime based on nonfiction never been primed. With a strong cult following, the crime radio programs, including Serial, beginning to explode in internal knowledge, an extremely high-profile field courtroom crime series set to debut in the marketplace 2015. Yada yada yada. Marco note: the elements are all organization structure piercing. Critical editor suggestions: Rock Paper Scissors Team, Angus Wall, The Dragon Tattoo, James Hagwood, Kevin Tent, Fernando Villa, Paul Connor, Brad Fuller, opposite title sequence and graphics of it. Currently, we need great opening title sequence establishing a strong visual identity of the series. Rhythm balance. Currently, this is irrelevant. Introduction. Episode 1 and 2. Currently in episode 1. Further down the notes, a suggested time potentially split the episode. It currently runs. Oh, this is just them suggestions of what they should do. 11.5 pictures of Sandra Morris. Oh, this is just, you've all seen Making a Murder, so I have no. I'm gonna put the link to these documents in the video. So if you guys want to pour over this all you want, by means. Exhibit 15. This is continuation of all the episodes. Alright, Exhibit 16, we got an email from Adam Del Deo to Lisa Nomura. This is continued. This is just them taking notes on what they witnessed and observed watching the documentary. Episode 8. Closing arguments. Reading James say he was framed. Kratz says shouldn't matter if the key was planted. This is all stuff. They spelled his name wrong. Episode 8. Closing arguments. Timestamps of everything that took place. Exhibit 18. Added in as continuation. I don't see this as being relevant. This is just them talking about the documentary and timestamps when things happen. Episode 5, everything they detailed. Episode 6. So Andrew Colborn claims that he only watched 30 to 45 minutes initially of the documentary, and then later on says after he watched the additional 45 minutes. The question is, he's lying 100%. Exhibit 21. Lisa Nomura. Again, this isn't the whole fucking deposition. This is just snippets. We're involved in specific types of films. Of what company? I was only mostly interested in what Colborn had to say. And Griesbach. I just don't see where Mr. Colborn gets his number amount for his settlement that he's requesting. Lisa Dennis. I'm just scanning over this. Oh, that was short. Exhibit 23. There's 49 exhibits, so, and I gotta leave soon. But I will continue this as soon as I get back home, which will probably be in like 10 hours. Well, these are all the interrogatories. One that Colborn refused to answer. A lot of them. Plaintiff objects. Plaintiff objects. Plaintiff objects. Netflix 2019 was confidential pursuant to protective order. Netflix employees worked at adversaries to a point of view. Da 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 da. These are just all the documents that they requested to be held confidential. And yeah. Docket 105, page 47, admission of testimony by plaintiff reflecting surprise that he had missed the key in earlier searches. Document 105, 47, admission of testimony by plaintiff that the person who called him appeared to incorrectly assume that the caller had received a law enforcement officer rather than a jailer. Yeah, this is just inserts that they had placed and questioned Colborn about during his deposition. And this is him before he signs it. Link currently cut feels very long. This is just them talking about editing. Can we hold a bit longer on Colborn's face here? It looks caught. Yeah, that's probably when they asked about, so you said 99 Rap Toyota. I thought she said that. Yada, yada, yada. This is just them pointing out timeline for Andrew Colborn phone call, Gregory Allen, update graphic. This is just suggestions that the Netflix team sent to Moira and Laura. Music in the version is underutilized as the episode has a large opportunity to shape overall impact of the episode. Look to punctuate musically in a more strategic manner. Dean String's statement here about Steve Mabry being given reasonable doubt should hit harder. Brendan walking on shackles should have music. They just suggested to add things to make it more dramatic. I'm going to read all this over again in more detail. I'm pressed for time. And I'm going to put the document in the description of the video. So, episode 1, detail, 1 hour, 9 minutes. 1:45, we end the cold open with Steven's cousin saying Manitowoc County is not done with you. They're not even close to being finished with you. 21 minutes emphasizes the relationship between Sheriff Kasur's wife and Penny Bernstein so that they establish a motive for him to interfere in the investigation. 31:47, the fact that the police had been following Gregory Allen established somewhat of out of the blue during the investigation. This setup seems to determine the revelation later when the DNA is matched that the police had been following him and his information. It could be more shocking to reveal later in the episode when who Gregory Allen was and how evidence. There's just them suggesting them how to make it more appealing to the audience. Episode 2, current cold open home. Yeah, so they're just like right where it says right there, suggestions. They're just suggestions. They're pointing out the things that happened that they already filmed, and then they're suggesting how to make it a little bit more dramatic. Like add music. What Walter Kelly is saying about the AG's report is very interesting, but he's very slow and unclear in his dictation. Probably it ultimately isn't necessary if you could even be simple as saying that you felt that they were taking law enforcement to law enforcement, so we're fairly candid. The phone calls from the Colborn receives and the constant flow of information to other figures in the sheriff's department is something we keep going back to throughout the series. I really hope to create a graphic that can be built in throughout the series and new information added to this topic. It would help keep clear with the connection and highlight whether the new information revealed. Also, there's a record that Gregory Allen was in Brown County Prison when he made the phone call to Colborn. Maybe add this mugshot from the prison. Remember, these are all just suggestions. This are probably more in testimony to the police that we need to point regarding the phone call. This Michael Griesbach testimony doesn't really seem necessary. Who is the person who circled in the courtroom clip? Episode 2. Stephen Glenn is giving very wordy and dry reveal Teresa Halbach is missing. There should be a bit of a tonal shift and dramatic tire screech when the bombshell is dropped as someone is connecting Stephen Avery to a murder. He says in an almost incidental way that the other opinions, new clips, making his versatile experience that the woman is missing and people are searching for her and the world is closing on Stephen. Episode 3, and this is all supposed to be confidential. Well, they labeled it confidential. They should have labeled it as attorney eyes only, like they were instructed to. Current episode 4. Cole opens Stephen Avery on phone. B-roll. Brandon said all this. I feel sorry for him. I'd probably make somebody look like a monster. Nothing good can come of this. New attorney for Brendan Dassey. Jody finds phone calls with Stephen Avery on the day of the murder. Developed bloody key, DNA evidence. Try to throw out BD's confession. Leno and Kelly push BD to confess. BD meets with the police and calls for him. Mom, police say easier to kill Stephen Avery. And everything that they're listening has happened in exact order that it actually happened. You know, they go talk to Brendan, and he starts to tell them the same story as always, that I got off the bus, went home, played video games, went over to help Steven, and went home, went to sleep. And then, so you're going to lie to us? So we're going to tell your mom that you're lying to us, and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the interview, they tell him, so you're going to call your mom and tell her what really happened? Because they've been pressured every fucking time. It's sad that they needed that to secure their case. And it's unfortunate. And it's sick and disgusting. Episode 7, debate about Manitowoc PD being at the crime scene. Beauty and Strength point to link as framing. Press conference, police regulations. Most testimony at Colborn conflict press conference. Beauty established EDTA test is bogus. Log shows Link didn't sign in. Yeah, there's logs that a lot of people signed in but never signed out, but then signed back in. Or people never signing in but then signing out. Bushman, Cedars, Link, Herman. I mean, the list goes on. Especially on the date of the 7th, which is the infamous day that they let Ryan and Scott, Ryan Hilgis and Scott Blodorn, they let them on the property 2 separate times on the 7th. And we all seen that interview where they're interviewing Mike and Ryan, and they're standing on the side of the road, and the press ask him, so you've ever been on that property? When he says no, he's fucking lying, because he was there on the 7th of November in the morning and the evening, and that interview is after the 7th. And Mike's reaction to him is priceless. Stephen talking about getting the state to record videotaping doesn't seem important. Perhaps episode 10, lots of B-roll of exiting the court. The class about Brendan confession doesn't feel necessary. I would make more sense to include that info when it's being evaluated in an investigator or in trial. GFX list. Improved map of Stevens' alibi for the rape of Penny Bernstein. Law enforcement organized chart to help keep clear of who everyone threw out. Organized chart for various court judges, especially when we get repeat judges. Number of times every property is searched over duration when the key is discovered. Landon O'Kelly's investigators explaining coercion of Brendan. Links mysterious involvement after sleep of the way. Teresa Hallbach's voicemail details. Timeless Colborn license plate phone call. Bobby. Bus driver. Police log. Crime scene. Bones. Burn barrels. Do we have GFX and the leads that is persuaded Manitowoc County met Teresa Hallbach roommate Ryan Hilgis, Bobby Dassey, Scott Tidich. Contradicts state arguments. How can Teresa have been killed in the bedroom and garage? Graphics of salvage yard and estimated size of the cars proposing finding Teresa's RAB less than 20 minutes. Brendan flip-flopping statements and dates. Chart of the appeals. Yep. And just something that I noticed from the November 6th interview of Brendan Dassey after the bus driver is brought up and they ask him what you think might happen to this girl. And Andrew Martinez attacked his girlfriend, wife, whatever you want to call her, on the 5th of November. It's on the news. That's why Brendan brings up maybe she was flagged down and attacked with somebody with a machete. There's lots of things that I pick up on that I don't talk about. And it's for very good reason. But the appropriate people know about it. That's all that matters. Once again, my opinion is my opinion, and it means nothing. Just like you guys have your opinion. Hold on a minute. Let's see. There we go. Oh, that's still it. Oh, what the hell? Okay, technical difficulties. I'm going to make myself disappear. This is confusing because I'm scrolling up and down on my computer, but it's going sideways. This is going to be confusing as hell. Episode 7. Given this volume and structure of solid 7. We'll run the time. This is just suggestions. Wait, now I'm going the wrong way. God, this is confusing. Now just hopefully when it flips back, it won't be that difficult to fix it. Alright. I got about fuck. Hello again. Alright, Exhibit 29. Episode general. Episode 6. Length episode. Example. Desley Eisenberg. This is just them pointing out things that happened in Making a Murder and suggesting that they change things. Exhibit 30. Alright, great. Thanks, Ben. Look forward to us chatting tomorrow. Fun night. Get some rest. Sent from the iPhone. Episode 1, Point Punch, disputes his cousin masturbating on the lawn. Penny is assaulted, blood in the belt. Because of bad blood with the police, they point the finger at Steven. Steven has alibi and wasn't even in the area. Steven convicted despite physical evidence. Steven's marriage ends, DNA, yeah. These are just, yeah. Exhibit 31. Alright. I'm going to stop right here on Exhibit 31 because I have to get ready for work. See you guys in about 10 hours, and I will continue the other 119 more pages. And there's also 4 more documents that were also filed that I have yet to even look at. I haven't even downloaded them yet. So until next time, have a good day.